What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here at GSD Mode Studios, where every week I share new top real estate agent and entrepreneur interviews, along with tips that I'm personally doing inside my business that have allowed me to become one of the top real estate agents and team leaders on the planet. Check us out at gsdmode.com, where you can see more free, great content, tips, interviews, resources, trainings, and more that will help you massively grow your real estate business. Also, make sure to check out my personal mentorship coaching program at 90daymastery.com. This is for those of you wanting to create a truly successful real estate business that pays you the money you want, as well as gives you the time and freedom to live a life worth living. This is hands down the best, most effective, and most affordable real estate coaching program that exists out there. Thank you so much for all of your support. Now, let's dive on into today's content. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode Podcast, where every single week I interview top entrepreneurs, top real estate professionals, and just straight up top badasses out there dominating their space. There are people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves, for their families, as well as have a big impact on others. And today, you guys got another rock star guest on the show. So check this out. Our guest, you guys, sold over $22 million of real estate in his first year in the business. I don't think I've ever heard a few agents maybe doing 10 million, 15 million, but I've never heard anybody doing 20 plus million. That's insane. Today he and his wife operate the 33rd ranked team in the entire United States, 30% of their deals coming from off market real estate. So they're able to bring a lot of value and differentiate themselves from local competition in a very effective way. Best-selling author, coacher, speak. He's completed multiple Ironmans as well as an ultra marathon. So overall, absolute badass on the show. So I'm really stoked and honored to have Dan Lesniak on the show. My friend.
Thanks for having me, Joshua. Thanks for that welcome. That was awesome, and I'm pumped to be on the GSD Mode show.
Yeah, dude, I'm stoked to have you on, man. You're a guy that's kicking ass. It looks like in all aspects of life, not just in business, but with your health, with your family, and, it's always dudes I love rapping with. But before we get into all the great things that you're doing today, man, I'm really always intrigued in our guest journeys that led them into entrepreneurship in the first place. Like how this all began and why real estate and how real estate?
Yeah, it was never something I envisioned or planned. I was raised by a family that valued education. So the traditional route of work hard in school so you can get into the next school so that you can get a good job and work hard there and go to the next school or job. And that worked really good for me until all of a sudden it didn't. Like I did the Naval Academy. I went to Georgetown, got my MBA, and then I just did not land the job that I thought, that this path was going to groom me to. And by, my dream job back then was to be a consultant, make like 180 grand a year, traveling Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday, working like 80-hour weeks, 100-hour weeks. And they all told me, we think you're smart enough, technical ability is there, but we don't think you're going to be good enough in sales. So I decided to get my real estate license and try that out. I'd always been interested in real estate. I'd bought and sold multiple properties before on the side. And I thought it would be something that I just started off and did for myself, kind of like a little side hustle, because I did have a decent paying defense contractor job in the DC area, and it just took off. My strategy worked. And in year one, like you said, I sold 22 million. I more than quadrupled my income that I was making at the time. I made like double that what I would have made if I had landed my dream job, and I wasn't having to travel more than like a mile from my house. So everything worked out really awesome. And it's led to a lot of more awesome stuff since, like building out the team and just having the ability to travel, do cool stuff with my family, do these like epic endurance events that I enjoy training for and doing. So, it was just something that was kind of born out of just always hustling and looking to do something great, really.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. It's one of those things where Yeah, I'm sure that you were somewhat crushed when you were getting turned down by opportunity after opportunity. But those things in one moment that might seem like devastation, man, they become the greatest blessing sometimes. And thank God you didn't get those jobs, right? You know?
Yeah, thank God is right, because I would have been kind of stuck in that corporate environment for who knows how long. And yeah, it was definitely crushing, because it was like the whole system that I had grown up in and been groomed by my parents. And let's face it, like, school really grooms you to believe in this system, and the government, and everybody. And I think it's for some people, but a lot less than what society and the system portrays. And it was honestly the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because it's led to a lot more. It's led to me really looking at things with intentionality. And so when I'm looking at what I want to do in my life, I'm not just accepting what is the system or what other people think I should do, or like what a lot of people do is they end up where they are, so without intention. Like they're living in the area they're living in, or doing what they're doing just because they haven't thought about it, right? And then the next thing you know, you look up and it's been 10-15 years and they're still in the same spot.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%, man. So let's talk about your first year, dude. Cause again, it's unheard of numbers, man. You look at, we're in an industry where 90% of agents don't even make it through the first 3 years. And what you did in your first year, even badass producers, it usually takes them 3 or 4 years to get to the point where they're doing 20 million in a year. And at that point, they have an established team around them. And, walk us through, man. It sounds like, because you said, I think you stated, or the words that you used were, my system worked. Right? So it sounds like maybe you had a plan before you got into real estate of how to execute on this stuff. You spoke of intention. Walk us through that first year, man. Like
Sure.
You got in day one. Like, what the hell did you do, dude?
Well, in business school, I learned about this marketing framework called STP. It stands for segmentation, targeting, and positioning. And I wrote about that in my book later. But, it's basically this process of being intentional about who you try and do business with. So segment the market, right? And that can, in real estate, that can be by geography, that can be by people versus those you don't. It can be by occupation, lifestyle, like all sorts of different ways to segment it. And then pick the targets that you want to go after. And really it should be like 1 or 2, maybe 3 at most. But when you're starting out, probably only like 1 or 2. And so you want to make sure you find a target segment that has enough people in it that there's good business there, right? Because if you get 100% market share of 2 homes, that doesn't do you any good. But you don't want it to be so big that you can't make an impact. Like if I tried to go after the whole, county I'm in of Arlington, 250,000 people, it would not have worked. So it's got to be big enough, but it can't be too big. And then you have to figure out, how do you position yourself to that target segment as being able to uniquely add value, and then communicate that message to them. So I went through that process, and since I did have a regular job when I first started out, which didn't last long, I quickly got out of it because my business grew so fast. But, I had time constraints because of that. I wasn't going to pick like a target area that was huge or spread out, or do what a lot of people do, is they start off just calling all of their friends and family members. And I think there's problems for a lot of people if that's the way they start out, but that's how a lot of people are taught. So my target segment was the building I lived in, 180 condo units. And then I grew my business from around, that area, and most of my business I could walk to. And, it was only 180 condos. So that's not a ton. And it happened to be about 3 or 4 years old at the time, the building. So people were starting to finally turn over and resale, but it wasn't, so there hadn't been enough sales yet for like an established bigger agent to be in there. So I think that's something a lot of new agents should consider is where is there a new neighborhood that's like 3 years old that's about to start having some sales, some turnover, but doesn't have an established agent yet. And I ended up getting over half of the sales that occurred in that building that year. So that building alone directly accounted for about 12 million in volume. And then about 90% of the rest of my business was related to it. It was either people moving out of there and buying something else nearby, or people that I met when I had, a unit for sale in there. And it really just all sprung from having a very, very narrow focus and like not taking my eye off it. There's that saying, put all your eggs in one basket and watch that basket really closely. So that was sort of what I did. And it worked, and I just expanded and grew from there up and down that area. And now combined with my wife, we'll probably do 400 to 500 million this year.
That's crazy, dude. That's awesome, man. So, it's everything you just talked about. It's I didn't start learning or hearing, I should say, when it comes to identifying, like you said, your segmentation or your ideal client, until I got into business outside of real estate. And every other business I've been involved in outside of real estate, it's like the first thing that you talk about. Right? Because that even determines, okay, what's the product? How do you position the products, the pricing of the products, your marketing? But it's something you never hear about. Like you never go to a real estate class or a conference and never hear anybody talk about it. So you have this knowledge from your marketing degree. Then from there though, dude, you talked about with your building, but once somebody identifies that, who they're that segmentation that they're going to hit, all those things that you talked about, how did you get your message out? Right? Like a lot of new agents that are out there, and I'm really asking this because we have a lot of new agents that listen to the show, or people that are, wanting to go out there and increase their marketing that might be struggling, but they're just like, dude, I don't know how to get my message even out there to people. And the new agents they're scared because they're new, right? What did you do to get that message out there and sell half those deals in that first year?
Yeah. I presented myself as, from terms of like value proposition, I presented myself as somebody that knew the lifestyle of these people. I had a very similar background to most of my target market. Like, the area happens to be very education focused, government contracting, government related type jobs. So I really knew my target's, client very, very well. So I think that helped. And then in terms of getting the message out, I think the problem that most people have is they don't take that first step and define a narrow segment. So they end up trying to be everything to everybody. And when you do that, you end up not being anything to anyone. Right. So you have to define it, and to get in front of 200 people in one condo building, it was pretty easy to get in front of them and stay in front of them and be, in front of them like constantly, because it's 200 people. So I did everything. I did direct mail because mailing that amount of people, that was like $100 a drop. It was nothing. Right. And then I added a few of the neighboring buildings as well, but instead of doing monthly, I did like every week for the first like 6 months or a year, because it just wasn't that much money. I had, it was a side hustle to start. So I think a lot of people look for results too quickly. They're not willing to like either reinvest back into the business to grow it quickly and decrease other things, in their life, or do it as a second, source of income. So it was just cheap to get in front of them, but I would do the direct mail like 4 times. I got the email list, the entire building, and I would be in front of them like 2 to 3 times a week with email. So I was in front of them that way a lot. I would hang out and talk to the manager, who worked the front desk of the building, and established a really good relationship with her. And I got a lot of good intel on who might be moving, right? Those people know. They get, like, I call them gatekeepers in the book, but they know who's moving in and out. And when I did that, even if the folder was empty, I would carry like around a folder that had my name and branding and logo on it, just so people would see me and that and associate it with real estate and always being around. And I did a couple events in the building. So I think if you make your audience targeted enough, it's easy to get in front of them a lot. And people just don't start there. Like, and it's interesting that you brought it up. Like, other industries never talk about the ideal client and staying in front of them and, what you're going to offer them. Like real estate kind of has a couple different silos, and, there's like some people that are referral only. There's some people that are call expireds and FSBOs, and, there's SOI based people, and all these methods can work. But I think if you should take a step back and really define, like, who's your ideal client? How can you help them? I think the default that a lot of people try when they're starting out is the friends and family SOI thing. And the problem with that is that they're all scattered all over the place. Like, nobody has a set of friends or SOI, sphere of influence that you could probably even put into like an avatar or character of, like, this is what my average SOI looks like. It just doesn't exist. They're going to be different age ranges, live in different areas, have different interests. So how are you going to create a unique marketing message to them? Right. I think that's one problem with that strategy when you're starting out. I think the other problem with that strategy is they all know you just started out. Like I never lied to anybody when I was getting business my first year, but if they asked, like, how long have you been doing this? I was honest, but it just didn't come up a lot. Like, but if you start calling all your friends saying, like, hey, I'm in real estate, I want to do business with you. Like, okay, great. Well, they know you as the person who just graduated college, or the person that was a consultant or an accountant, or, like, they don't know you as a real estate agent yet. So I think that's like the default where the industry tells people to start, and it's not always the best choice.
Yeah. And then also it puts people in a tough position, right? Like, you just get into real estate. Now you're calling all your friends, family members, friends of friends, whatever. And dude, like, you're brand new. Maybe they don't want to use you, but it just puts people in an awkward position, man.
Yeah. And I still rolled that. Like, that definitely became a huge part of my business. But that part didn't really take off until a year or two, because, like, family or people I knew, they started seeing what I was doing on social media, and it just came, right. And that's a much easier pitch after you have a track record. I think breaking in is easier if you figure out a different segment other than your friends or people from your pre-real estate life.
Yeah, 100%, dude. So then, have you stayed in the condo niche, or have you expanded out of that through your career?
So when my wife and I met, we met like year 2 of my real estate career, and she had a similar size team at the time. Like, we were both growing our business, and she actually focused more on new construction, single family home, like infill type business. So we sort of do it all. People still know me more as like the condo and townhouse guy, but we do like anything and everything. And what I do now for the business is a lot different than what I did year 1 and 2. Like, so that's the cool thing about real estate, is it's as you grow, what you do changes and evolves. So it's not static. So we do business all over the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, probably like almost 100 miles in like radius. So it's a big amount that we cover.
Yeah. Now, and I know that this is hypothetical, so this is tough to probably say, but, with you and your wife combining your business, and she had her niche, you had your niche, but it sounds like you guys have both kind of stayed in your lanes, with that. So let's just say you didn't happen to meet, right? Staying niche focused, with that. What do you think the importance is? It's something that in my real estate career, I'm going on my 14th year in the business now, and I've always, focused on single family attached, move up buyers, 250,000, 400,000 price point, 28 to 42-year-old married couples, young kids at home. And like, I haven't tried to dabble in, let me jump into luxury. Let me go jump into commercial. It's just like, boom, just stayed in this lane for 14 years. And, it's consistently done well and paid off. And I just don't see a lot of people lose that focus. Can you speak to the importance of really just mastering that niche and staying in your lane?
Yeah, I mean, I think the riches are in the niches. So the more narrow you can get, it's like you're applying more force to a smaller amount of area. So the analogy I like to use is like throwing a baseball through like a single pane of a window. Like, you're going to smash right through it. But if you pick up a handful of pebbles and throw it against the side of a glass building, it's going to do nothing. So I think you should dominate your niche, and then naturally as you grow, you can scale and do more in that niche and adjacent niches that are closely related, and then start hiring more people to help you service the niche and take the $10 and $20 an hour and then eventually higher, but take the $10, $20 hour activities off your plate. And then, once you do that, you can kind of put a lot of the stuff that you're doing in your niche on autopilot, a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it. And then you can move on, I think, to adjacent things, and you've got experience, you've got money, you've got other resources and manpower and systems that can help you break into other niches quicker, than that first one. But that, the one that really fuels your career, like you can't lose focus of that ever.
Yeah. So you mentioned a moment ago of, what you do now today is vastly different than what you did when you started, right? And look, with technology changing so fast, it's like, man, we've seen more changes in 2019 than probably the other 13 years of my career combined, right? Just things are changing so fast. So can you just like walk us through like how, because you're a dude that obviously can't continue to create the success that you have and grow the way that you have if you're not staying ahead of the curve and staying really relevant and adapting and shifting, right? So like, kind of what have some of those biggest adaptations and shifts made, and what does the differences look like today?
Yeah, so we're a lot more focused on marketing in general and digital and social media and video. And a year ago we were doing that stuff, but more of like the check in the box, like, yeah, we have an Instagram account and a business page and all that stuff, but we weren't really super dialed in and focused on it. And what really, a couple things helped us get more focused on it. One, my book, The Hyperlocal Hyperfast Real Estate Agent, had started to do really, really well in the first year. And I wanted to expand upon that and offer more coaching and resources and things like that to people. And as I studied that industry, it made me realize the importance of digital marketing and doing, having more systems that follow up and market to people online. So we started to build that out. And at the same time, we happened to have a chance meeting with Gary Vee. And he was speaking in the DC area. We went and saw him, paid extra to have dinner with him. And I think it was supposed to be a dinner with like 8 people. And the people putting it together kind of screwed it up. It's a long story, but he was very flexible and met with my wife and I and another real estate agent who I'm friends with. So we had like an hour-long meeting with him, one-on-one or one-on-3, however you want to phrase that. But he really dialed in for me like the cost of getting in front of somebody digitally and on social media and on Facebook compared to like how much it costs to get in front of them with direct mail, right? So like prior to that, we were very, very direct mail focused, and that worked. But a lot of times people are reluctant to stop what's working for what would work better. And, he told us of a time when Google PPC was like $20 to get in for a CPM, which is, the cost to get in front of 1,000 people. And he remembers it going up to like 100. Right. And he was very clear that he said, look, I built my parents' wine business from 3 million to 60 million. But every time I see that line on Wikipedia, I get upset because I was young and I didn't have the chops. But had I gone all in on Google PPC instead of just a little bit, it would have been like 300 million. And then the cost went up like overnight. And he said, look, Facebook CPMs right now are at $20, to get in front of 1,000 people. At some point, it'll be 80 or 100. I don't know if it's a year, 2 years, or 5 years, but at some point it will happen. And just between that and then thinking about the cost of direct mail, like I was like, wow, to get in front of 1,000 people on Facebook, it's going to cost me $20. But if I direct mail them, it's going to cost $500. And guess what? When I get in front of them on Facebook, I get data. Like I can retarget them. I know who's interacted and with the ad or watch the video, and I can do almost like a campaign of ads with that. With direct mail, unless they call or go to a landing page, I don't really know how it's working. And this is a way to get in front of people that is like 40 times more effective, cost effective, and that really changed our business and what we're doing. And in the last year, we've really built out like an in-house digital marketing agency. Like we've got 3 videographers on staff, someone who just does landing pages, a copywriter, a social media account manager. So we've built out like really an in-house digital marketing agency. And that's been a ton of work, but our business has gone from, we were doing 200 million prior to that meeting with Gary Vee a year ago. And I think we'll do 450 this year.
Yeah, no, you're definitely, as he mentioned, he wished he went all in. I mean, you guys are going all in, dude. And, and the other component that a direct mail piece can't do is you can't develop a connection with them, right? Like it's 2D. They're seeing your stats, seeing, whatever, but they're, like I've been able to speak a couple times with Josh Altman from $1 Million Listing LA. And then I just had recently Ryan Serhant on the podcast from $1 Million Listing New York. And, both of those guys, when you talk to them privately, they talk so heavily on how that show changed their life. But it's because you get to know them personally. You develop a connection with them. Yeah. Right. And you can do that with with video ads. You can never do that and duplicate that with direct mail. So there's so many more components to it. Now, can you walk us through then, because with that, I mean, that's a massive change, dude. That's well over 2Xing your business.
Which is hard to do at our level. Like,
yeah,
when you're at 10, 20 million, even 40 million, like doubling up is good, but it's not like amazing. Like a lot of people have done that, but to go from like 200 to 400 is a lot tougher.
Yeah. Dude, I just read a stat just the other day that there will be more online, so more video uploaded onto online through all online platforms in the next 30 days than there will if you combine all network television channels across the planet, all combined over the last 30 years.
That's crazy.
Right. I mean, it's insane, right? There's 500 million minutes or hours watched a day of video on YouTube. And I think most of our listeners are like understand the power of video and that it should be done. But I think most of them have a tough time coming up with strategy and tough time coming up with content. And can you kind of walk us through like, what are the things that you're doing that are really working with video?
Yeah. So a lot of people, I think, just the biggest thing they have is just a fear of doing it and being vulnerable and getting started. And like it doesn't take much. If you have, an iPhone, this thing shoots in 4K. It's pretty good. You can buy a $100 stabilizer for it, and it's really good. Microphones and lightings can be done super, super cheap. So like anybody can do it is the first thing. And you just got to get over the fear and not care. Like don't even look at the results for 6 months and don't get upset if nobody likes it or comments it or if they comment and they're mean, just get over that and start doing it. I think that's the biggest issue, right? And then once you start doing it, be consistent. Like, you're going to get better. You're going to figure it out. Like, you always hear Gary Vee talk about how quantity makes the quality go up, and he'd rather have people put out 15 things a day and like 2 of them are great and the rest are whatever, than just focus on making like 2 perfect things. So I think people need to just start, be consistent, and turn up the volume. Now, in terms of what actually works, I think there's kind of 2 strategies. There's the strategy of just getting people to know you, know who you are, like showing them kind of like the day of your life, like documenting the things you're doing, like going on appointments, showing homes, when like kind of just documenting that stuff. And then I think there's the other strategy is more of a paid strategy of ads, of just getting in front of people more. A lot of examples of that. Sometimes we run ads that are just like awareness, like who is Dan or Carrie or the team, like what are we doing, right? So there's those types of ads that just to get people seeing you that aren't really a sale, and those work good with cold audiences, like people that don't know you. And then as the audience warms up, the ads we serve to them are typically like, get the value of your home, or here's 10 ways we help buyers find homes off markets, or ways we help sellers make more money. And it's, we're offering free reports and just information that they can get. And whether they download it or not, it does have also continue to have that branding effect, like making us look like experts. So I think there's like a myriad of strategies and offerings you can put out there, and it's going to be different in every market, what will work. And you've got to, keep that in mind, go back to who's your ideal client, right? What type of ads would interest them, and combine that with just showing people who you are.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more, dude. And, I another statistic I recently read was it takes people seeing your Facebook ads 12 times before they even recognize you. So think of it, and it's the same exact statistic for banner ads on Google or whatever. So it does take that frequency and that consistency, of getting that message out there. There used to be a saying in real estate of you can either be rich or famous. You got to pick and choose which one you want to be, though. Right? Like brand marketing would make you famous, but you spend so much money on radio, TV, but in today's day and age, man, it's like you need to do both, right? And there's no reason, and it's so cheap to do both and be effective with it. So it sounds like, though, you guys are doing a really good job at getting them to raise their hand first. I do a lot of Facebook ads, and I get a lot of agents that reach out to me say, man, I'm not getting good results with this. And they're just targeting just straight up opt-in, look at these homes, home valuations, strip opt-in to cold audiences with not warming them up. And it sounds like you guys do a good job with getting in front of them, getting them warmed up before you start asking them for contact information. I mean, would you say that's a correct statement?
Yeah. And we do the branding type videos of who we are. Another really effective strategy that we use, and we actually made a course on it called Being the Mayor of Your Town. And you can get that at hyperfastacademy.com. But that's a course we made with the lessons we learned from Gary Vee and Billie Jean. And the idea is, how do you become the person that people just associate with news around town, right? Like think of yourself as a newspaper, is what Gary Vee told us. So we started to go around and highlight, and we called them spotlights. So we would just highlight local businesses, bars, restaurants, dog parks, kids parks, just information that people in the area would like to know. And we would, just send around a videographer. You don't even need a videographer. You could do it with an iPhone and interview the store owners, restaurant owners, and show people like the top 3 dog parks or top 5, parks for kids in Arlington. And we would really put those out on YouTube and on Facebook, and primarily, but snippets on all the platforms as well. And there really wasn't even a sales message in it. The most the sales message would be something like, "Hey, I'm Dan Lesniak with the Orange Line Living or Carrie Scholl team, whichever brand we were promoting, here today to spotlight this." And that was about it. Like nothing else really mentioned that we even buy and sell homes. And, that was a great way to get people in the area talking about us, knowing who we are, and staying in front of them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's, one thing that's so tough to find out there, dude, is look, we can all go on Zillow and find homes, right? But if you go Google like your own city or another city of like to find out what it's like to live there. Like if I'm relocating 500 miles or 1,000 miles to a new city, and I want to see what the schools are like, what it's what the local gyms are like, all this stuff, it's like impossible to find that stuff. Yeah, right. So you guys are just out there showcasing really lifestyle, getting them to raise their hand that they either live in the area, interested in the area, get them aware of your brand, and then you're able to retarget them from there.
Yeah, and we'd get decent traction with those organically, but paid really gets you a ton more views, and then we can retarget like who's watched 50% or 25% or whatever of the video, for our next one or for the ads that are more sales focused. So there's just so much more opportunity and analytics and data that you can do with it.
Yeah, love it, dude. So then, another thing I was reading about is that 30% of your guys' deals are off market, which becomes really powerful, right? It gives you guys this exclusivity that other people don't have. And especially the last, I don't know exactly what your market's like, but I'm assuming it's like every other market out there where it's been a low inventory market for some time. And, it just adds a lot of additional value to you guys. What are you guys doing there? And how do you have so many off market deals, or how can others kind of replicate that in their business?
Yeah. So you don't need, to have the listings to be able to sell a home off market. So that's one thing that people need to get over. And it really comes down to this principle I learned from Keith Cunningham when I was at a Tony Robbins conference, and he's an awesome teacher, and I've learned a ton from him. But it's just this 3-part strategy, and it's really simple. A lot of people don't do it though, and it's just find out what they want, go and find it, and then give it to them. That's it. So we've been in a low inventory market for a decade in this area, and it's gotten worse in the last year since Amazon announced they're coming. But it really is like sitting down with the buyer, finding out what works with them, what doesn't. We do something called the reality check analysis, where we search backwards 12 months at what is sold using their criteria, and have them go through the list. Like, okay, would you have bought this home, or, how about this home, right? And this process does a lot of things for us. One, it tells them up front, are you realistic? Like if they want a 4-bedroom home, walking distance to the metro, right outside of DC, and they want it to be brand new and under $1 million, well, if I tell them, yeah, that doesn't exist, they might think I'm a jerk. But if they see me put that criteria in and then watch 0 sales pop up, right now I can tell them like, well, look, this is what sold that meets your criteria. Like it doesn't exist. And now the market, they can't get mad at the market, right? So you're using like real data to let them know, A, does what you want exist? B, how many times did it come up if it did exist, right? So did one of those sell in a year, or was there like 2 a month, right? And that kind of lets them know how flexible they can be if what they're looking for does exist. And then, what happens if we change some of your criteria, your price, your location, or the size of the home, age of the home, features, all that stuff. So we kind of go through that process. And then if we really narrow down that what they do want exists, but there's not a lot of it, we'll actually go and target those homes. So we'll do like a letter writing campaign to those people. We'll contact the top listing agents in that in that area, right? And see if they've got anything coming up. We'll contact if there's homes like that are for rent, right? We'll contact the owner or whoever's listing it for rent. So we'll try and find it. And the strategy works. That was, I did this with one of my first clients ever, probably. I don't know if they were client number 2 or 3 or 4, but it was one of the first, and they wanted a certain type of townhome. Well, I went through this exercise with them, told them like, look, there's, and I did tax record searches and as well. And I told them like, look, there's only 11 of these in existence. Well, I did a handwritten note, put it on 11 doors. None are on the market. None of these, like this townhome neighborhood had about 90 units in it. None had sold in like 6 months of any. Now they wanted just a very specific type that only 11 existed. Well, 4 of those people replied to me. They bought one of them. I eventually got the listing on a second one of them. And then years later, I sold a third one from that group of 4. And that ended up just that alone led to like $1 million in commission within a few years, just the chain reaction from it. And it really goes back to that principle: find out what they want, go and get it and give it to them. And there's dozens of ways to find homes off market. And if you have the ability to do that for clients, eventually you'll build up a list of your own. But if you can tell a buyer prospects, like, yeah, if you meet with me, I sell a third of my homes off market. I'm going to be able to get you more access through my efforts, through my own listings than anyone else out there. Like it doesn't matter if they're working with their mom. Like if you have it or have the ability to get it and the other person doesn't, that commands like more loyalty in my mind than anything else out there.
Yeah. Yep. Love it, man. Couldn't agree more, dude. And I love the reality check process that you do, right? It's something I've never done or thought of or even heard of anybody else doing, which, now I'm pissed at myself for not thinking of it. But it's like, dude, most of us would go spend hours, showing a client 6 different properties to go through that same process, right? If you will, where you guys are, so it's saving you a ton of time. Also being able to find out what they want, what they don't want. They're visually seeing that. A lot of value there, dude. So, I'm curious, man, is there, in addition to the social media stuff that you guys are doing, is there any other, prospecting based stuff that you guys are continuing to do? It sounds like maybe you cut out the direct mail, but is there anything else that's just consistently work for you that you're continuing to do? Or have you just transitioned everything to online?
Well, a lot of it is online. We're really good with referral and past clients. So we do 4 big events a year. So we're staying in touch with our existing clients, and that number grows every year. But, we do a baseball game in the spring. What do we do in the summer? We do a fall festival. We do Santa pictures with Santa, in a Christmas brunch or holiday brunch. And then we do a casino night as well. So we do these quarterly events. Each one of those becomes multiple touches because we call them about it, email them about it, send them. We'll mail invitations to them because they're our past clients and we have that relationship. And we post about it on social media leading up to it, as it's going on. After, we make a video about it, so that like those events alone get us in front of a ton of people, and we're good at staying in front of past clients and getting a lot of referrals. We're pretty good at open houses as well. And I know a lot of agents out there and coaches even like are kind of downplaying the role of open houses now, or some do anyway, and question them. But it depends on the market. Like there's some markets where open houses may not work because of HOA, or if it's seasonal owners, or I know an agent down in the Gulf Shore area, that open houses aren't big because it's a lot of out of town owners buying vacation rental properties. So there's some markets where they might not work, but for us, at our open houses, we typically get 10 people and we'll convert at least one of them. And, you know, that's at that rate in conversion, that's kind of similar to getting like 200 online leads, right? So that's for the people that don't think they work, like, you know, I guess if you don't want to spend like 2 hours meeting 10 people in your market, but it's, you know, the cost to get that many leads that would convert through online is going to be, you know, a few $100s at least, if not like 1,000. So to me, for most agents, open houses are definitely still worth it. And we do some expireds and FSBOs as well, because we have 7 inside sales agents. They spend most of their time calling back our inbound leads. So people that have raised their hands, submitted their information, said they want information from us or to potentially do business with us. So our inside sales agents are contacting them a lot, but they do expired and withdrawn type prospecting as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. So I'm curious with your open houses, man, because you're only the second person that I've ever met that has a 1 out of 10 conversion rate with them. And the other person that I met with it is, you know, I mean, her open houses are next level open houses, right? Like when you walk in there and you hear people talk about mega, you know, I've done a lot of trainings on mega, and it's not about just putting out a ton of signage, right? It's also really dialing in the event itself, you know, right? The tour process. And, you know, she was the head of the curriculum of the school district, developing the school district school system. So, and it's an area that everybody's moving to because of the schools, you know, right? So when they walk in, she's able to really design a full plan for them and articulate her value and connect with them deeper than the other 3 or 4 open houses that they went to have that conversion rate, man. Are you guys, I mean, is there anything that you found that really works with the connection piece, delivering your value to them to convert at the level that you do during the open?
Yeah, I mean, we train our agents to ask a lot of questions, and you know, I think a lot of people are afraid of rejection, afraid of objections, of getting no's, and like, to me, it's just asking the right questions when people walk in. So, hey, how did you hear about us, right? So are they just browsing by and they saw a sign and this is an area, you know, where there's a lot of walkable places for brunch, so maybe they're not serious? Or did they find you online? If they found you online, they're probably serious because they looked online and then decided to come to this thing. So that's a question that we usually ask. Where are you, you know, living now? Because that tells me, like, are they in the neighborhood? Are they renting? Are they, right? Plus it gives me some piece of data that I can use to hopefully establish rapport with them, because I can usually, depending on that answer, find something that I probably have in common with them. And then after those questions, another good one I like is, you know, if you found the perfect home, like, ideally, when would you put in an offer or want to move, right? So try to get their timing. So now I've got their timing, I've got their motivation. At that point, I usually ask them to sign in, right? And there's something there to fill out their name and contact data, and then you know, usually I'll tell them, like, all right, we'll take a look around and let me know if you have any questions. But before they leave, I try to connect with them again and get their feedback on the house. And then, you know, whether or not they liked it, my goal at this point is to book an appointment with them. And, you know, the off-market strategy works really well at this point. And just asking them, hey, you know, would you want to meet with me tomorrow or the next day? Like, give them 2 options, and go over, you know, the home buying process, what types of homes, you know, would best suit you. And I can see if we're and I can see if there's an off-market match for you, right? And that alone gets them a lot of times. And then, you might not get them right then to book an appointment, but if you've at least established rapport, have a lot of information about them, then you can make your follow-up a lot better, right? So if they're looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in a certain area, your follow-up can center around that, like, hey, this just came on the market, or something just like it. Do you want to meet to discuss this plus other options that I think would be great for you? So it's just asking a lot of questions up front, not being afraid of objections, trying to, based on their answers, coming up with a solution for them, a reason to meet, and then staying on top of them with the follow-up.
Yeah, love it, dude. So we've got about 15 minutes left here, and I want to make sure we talk about your book, some of your programs that you have, and I know you got a big event coming up. So, dude, what led to? I mean, you're kicking ass with everything that you're doing with the real estate company. Like, what led to the book and the events that you're putting on? I mean, how did all that come about?
Yeah, so the book really, I just, the more I studied the industry, went to coaching events, I never found another person that did over 22 million year one. Like, and this is, including people that are doing 5, 6, 7, 800 million in sales, a year right now, like the top agents in the country, including, any and all coaches. Like, I just never met anyone that sold that much year one. So I thought it was probably a unique story and thought I would write it down. And I didn't necessarily know much would come of it, but I think we hit 20,000 combined sales between the paperback and Audible and Kindle recently. So it went on to help a lot more people than I ever imagined. And I kept getting feedback from people, like, saying they liked it and that it's helped their business, and that made me feel really good. And it was just not expected. And people started asking me about coaching, and I talked about it with Carrie, and she's always enjoyed coaching, helping other people, masterminding with top agents. So we just looked at it as a way to help more people and connect with them. So we started formally doing coaching programs about a year ago, into last year, really. So we did that under the brand Hyperfast Agent. And yeah, the book now, we actually give it away for free. If you guys are listening and want a free copy, you just pay for the shipping. It's hyperfastfreebook.com. And, you can go there, just pay shipping, get it for free. But it's just something that came out of this, it all really started with the story of my first year, and combined with Carrie, who's an amazing teacher, amazing coach, it's just grown to a level that, we never really imagined. We've got hundreds of people in our online programs at hyperfastacademy.com. We coach several people on weekly phone calls. And then now we're doing a big 2-day event in November in the DC area that you mentioned. It's going to be November 11th and 12th. And we got a ton. We got, I think, about 18 speakers and panelists that will be there. We haven't announced them all. The keynote speaker is Ryan Serhant. So you mentioned that you had him on recently, and he's got an amazing story, and he's got his book as well, which is a great book, and I'm super pumped to have him there. We're gonna have Nick Baldwin and Tristan Ahumada from Lab Code Agents. So I'm sure you're familiar with those guys. I mean, they've got a Facebook group of realtors that's 100,000 strong now. Ricky Caruth will be there, and we've got about a dozen more. We're revealing another couple big ones as well. So yeah, I'm excited about that event. If you want to learn more about it, it's a bit.ly link. So if you go to bit.ly/hyperfast summit, you can go there and learn more about it. And we can make a 20% coupon for your listeners too. So if they go to bit.ly/hyperfast summit and then type in GSD20, we'll give you 20% off the tickets. And there's a couple of different options there, but yeah, it's bit.ly/hyperfast summit. Would love to see as many of you guys out there that are listening that can make it.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. And wherever you guys are watching and listening, we'll have all those links right below to make it super easy on you. Yeah, dude. And I mean, I love it, man. I'm a huge believer in studying those that have done it. And unfortunately, our industry has changed. Both of our lives is so saturated with a ton of information, but from people that haven't done it. And just, I mean, we need the right information from the doers that have done it, and yeah, I mean, business is a marathon. It's not a sprint, but it doesn't need to take as long. I always reflect back and think about my career, and it's like, dude, knowing what I know now, I'm pretty confident I could do in 3 or 4 years what took me 10 years to do, right? Because the hacks. Right. And if you have the right playbook to follow out of the gate, dude, like, there's no reason to go out there and reinvent the wheel. So I'm curious, dude, can you talk a little bit more about your academy? And I'm just kind of selfishly asking for myself. I just said, look, I'm a coaching junkie, if you will, dude, right? There's never a time where I'm not in multiple different, products and programs and try to learn as much as I can. But like, what is involved in that? What's included in that? I know you talked about being the mayor of your own town. I mean, is there these like separate products that you're purchasing, or is it like an all-in-one?
Yeah, so we've got a couple different like ways that we're helping people, coaching people. But Hyperfast Academy is where we put all of our courses, and we've got about 15 of them now. So they're all separate courses. Most of them are video based. We have a buyer agent course that like walks you through how we do that reality check analysis that we discussed. We have a listing agent course. We have one for inside sales agents. We have one for managing inside sales agents. So, that's more for team leaders or people that want to be a team leader. We've got one on recruiting, one on, just a lead generation deep dive. We've got the mayor of the town course, which is all about video marketing. So there's about 15 of those courses, and you can go to hyperfastacademy.com and buy them, a la carte, or our coaching members that are on our like weekly calls, they get access to all of the courses. Plus, they get on calls with Carrie and myself. So if you want more information about that, just email info@hyperfastagent.com. And, those are that's the quick overview.
Yep. Love it, dude. So, if those that are watching, listening, man, if they want to follow you, check you out, check out your stuff on social media, check out your videos, man, is there a place, do you have a business page or a page that you recommend others to go to just see more of what you're up to in your real estate business?
Sure. You can go to hyperfastagent.com, and there's links to all of the Hyperfast Agent social media on there. And if you want to follow me personally, and that'll give you more of just like a look into my life, like training agents, recruiting agents, doing business deals, training for like Ironman stuff, all that kind of stuff is reflected, raising my kids, 3 kids, that's all reflected on my personal social media. And the handle is the Dan Lesniak. So it's just the plus my name. And I think that one works for Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Awesome, bro. Awesome, dude. So, all right, one last question for you. Knowing everything that you know now today, if you could go back, Dan right now in this moment could go back to the Dan when you first started on this real estate journey and give yourself 2 pieces of advice that you were to just massively fast forward your trajectory of success that you're on, what would those 2 pieces of advice look like?
Well, number 1 would be to start sooner. So I shouldn't have waited as long to get into real estate. And number 2 would be to hire faster. I think so many people are afraid to hire, and it baffles me. Like there's nothing wrong with it, but I've seen the same agents in my town who year 1, I netted over 350,000. And I've seen the same agents since then, this is 6 years ago, that were making 150, 200 now, maybe 250, and they're still in that range, and it's because it's just them. And they're busy as hell. They're like all over the place, writing contracts on vacation, and like there's no reason they shouldn't hire a $40,000 or $50,000 assistant. Like if you're making $200K, you can afford that. And if the first one doesn't work out, then like try it again, and then try it like at least a third time. Like you'll figure it out eventually. I think a lot of people maybe dabble in it once and then like it didn't go perfectly, so they just go back to like doing it all themselves. And I think that's the biggest thing that holds people back. And I made my first hire, I think 12 months in, and I probably should have done it 6 months in.
Yeah, love it. Powerful words. And those watch and listen, I know I end every podcast with this, but information without implementation is truly just the start of delusion. Information isn't power. It's taking that information, taking max action on it, that gives you the power to go out there and create the life that you know you want and deserve. And Dan shared so many amazing pieces of advice with you guys today. Take something that you learned and go out there and implement. So again, you can go out there and create the life that you know you want and deserve. And Dan, truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to be here, man. This has been a lot of fun, a huge honor. And yeah, dude, loved it all, bro. So I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I enjoyed it as well. And I hope your listeners do as well.
Yeah, 100%. And you guys, again, that are watching and listening, all those links will be below. So make sure to go check those out. Go get that free book. Follow Dan on social media. And again, all those links will be below. So thank you so much for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time. Peace.